Hello guys, this is Noel. I released a video on how to make a bamboo house a couple of years ago actually, and I've been getting a lot of questions regarding it. So I decided maybe I should revisit the design or revisit the approach and then try to do some new stuff on the way. And hopefully this is going to explain a bit more on how you can achieve that. So I downloaded one of the inspiration images just to work around it. Essentially, I will be building these vertical members. Horizontal members, not so much because of the time, but it is also possible to have the same thing as similar to this one. So if you're interested, this house is actually a traditional house in Tanzania. It's called Nyakyusa house, but most of the tribes also, they do have similar bamboo houses. So let us switch to Revit. This time around, I'm going to use conceptual massing environment. So actually, I'm going to access it on a bit different. I'm going to here, new, and then conceptual mass, metric conceptual mass. So there we have it. Switch it to floor plan, reference plane, and then try to make a very basic house, 8 meter by say 5 meter. So I'm using millimeter, metric, yeah. There, and then maybe a door, maybe 900 millimeter door, so 450 by 450, yeah. And then maybe immediately afterward, switching to east elevation, maybe, and make switch to east elevation and then make a new levels. So level 1, maybe 3,000, 2,600, and then a 3 meter. And then maybe a 2 meter. Yeah. So afterwards, model line, go directly to 3 meter, make a gable for the roof, and then there we have it, the house. So this height is actually for the door, so that level. So I'm switching it to 3D view, and then create a model. So this one will go for 4,000, and then this one also for 4,000. Yeah, switch to eastern view, to north view, and then create a rectangle using model line, and then there we have it as a door. Can't see it. Okay, so it's in the middle of the design. So I'm going to extrude it as a void to the north side, and then there we have it. So I'm going to switch to 3D view perspective, just to have something similar to the picture. So I'm going to, first of all, I disabled the crop view so that I can easily work around the model, and then I'm going to change the center, rotate it, and then maybe switch to full navigation and then simply walk. Yeah, I think this is okay. So after this, you click the surface and then you choose divide surface. So since bamboo is simply members of frames running, in our case, running vertically, so what we do, we will be more interested on the vertical members, unlike these horizontal members. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to 1. Actually, it should be vice versa. So I'm going to put, say, maybe 80 here, and then maybe this one 1. I think this is okay. So for easy navigation, I'm just going to switch to this 3D. But before that, let me just hide all these lines. So commonly, since I'm in a conceptual massing environment, I don't have a right-click command for the hide. So what I'll do, I'll just hit VG as for visibility graphics. That's a keyboard shortcut, VG, and then switch to annotation categories. Here I'm going to hide levels and then reference planes. Click apply, okay, yeah. So this is what I have here. So going back to axonometry 3D view, after dividing the surface, just lower at the lower tab. After the surface in the lower tab, you'll notice here you have a surface representation. When you hit that arrow, you can see some extra options that you have. So I'm interested on nodes, so I'm just going to allow that to be visible. And then this is the part that we're interested with, because when the method that I'm going to use requires points to be visible, so that I can attach my bamboo frame from one point to the other. So in this case, I'm going to open another new family. This time around, I'm going to load a family called Metric Generic Model Adaptive. So when loading this, it's a bit similar to conceptual massing environment with Revit, except it really works with points and reference plane a bit easier. You can model. Think of this like a door template. You go in, you make your door, and then soon after you upload it to the actual architectural or construction template. There you can manipulate it even more. So, but in this case, these scenarios applies a bit different. Like here, you can have a freeform model, whatever you want here. So I'm going to make a single bamboo frame. So perhaps maybe something on a 1 meter or 2 meter size. So 1,000, 1 meter. Yeah, I think this is okay. And then I'm going to click point. So the first point here, the second point here. And this is very important because you'll see it if I filter and then I click reference points and then click make adaptive, you'll notice that the first point is here and the second point is here. So Revit recognizes the moment when you were placing these points. So if I delete them and say I start from the lower end to the upper end and then filter reference points and then make them adaptive, you'll notice that now we have the first point on the lower part and then the second point on the upper part. So this is very important, especially if you're making complex elements, but in our case, we're not really doing that. So after this, I'm switching to 3D view. So there are my points. And like I said, here you can make a parametric freeform models quite easier as in comparison to other templates. So after this, I'm going to hit reference line and then choose 3D snapping. I'm going to snap to this point and then I'm going to snap to this point, then hit escape. So now we have a reference line running across 2 points. Now basically right now when you click one point and then you move it, you'll see that also the line tends to respond to your movement. Even when you move sideways and even when you move vertically, the line also is going to follow the point. So after this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to insert an extra point just for making sure that I can draw my circle there. And then I'm going to set a drawing plane here. I'm going to hit circle and then try to draw a profile for the bamboo frame, say of that size, and then I'm going to click the dimension. And then since I want it to be parametric, I'm just going to make sure that the dimension is assigned to parameter properties. So I'm just going to call this one maybe bamboo radius. Then pick the lock. So right now, whenever I choose that line, that circular line, and then go to family category, sorry, not here. Yeah, you click the circle, and then when you go to family type, and then you can immediately change the size. So maybe I prefer 25 so that we can have a 50 diameter size bamboo. So when you click apply, you will notice that this is also changing. Maybe I'll change the scale, maybe 1 to 5, something like that. So there we have our circle, and then you are going to click it and hit also a reference line, and then hit create form. So immediately now we have a frame which sort of could be an actual bamboo frame that we are trying to have. So I'm just going to select everything, hit filter, check none, generic model, click OK. There I have it. Then I have to assign material, but since also I want to be able to control it after pasting it to conceptual massing, I'm just going to assign a parameter, a material parameter to it. So I'm just going to call it bamboo texture. It's okay. So now I also have material. When I go to family types, I'm able also to assign materials here. Let us do one more time and see if we can actually change the diameter. Okay, so we have a problem here. So the moment we change the diameter, it responds to the middle part and not over the entire frame. So I'm just going to redo this. I'm recording as I'm doing it, so I apologize for any error that will be made along the way. So I'm just going to redo it and try to find a better way on how can we get the correct size. So this time around, let's see, let's set the working plane on this side and then try to do a circle from this end. So I'm just going to type 200 here, and maybe perhaps set a working plane on the other end, and then also try to do the same thing as here, 200. So then I'm going to make the diameter parametric as I'm going to assign the size to the parameter, the same as we did earlier. So I'm going to call this bamboo radius, pick a lock, and then also I'll do the same thing here. Click this one and then change to bamboo radius with a picked lock. So immediately when I change it to say 25 millimeter, they all should be able to be changed. So I'm changing again this to 1 to 5 so that I can see them. So I'm going to click one circle, the intermediate line, and then the other one, and try to see if I can create, yes. So it has worked. And then let us see, when we change the size, does it affect the entire model? Yeah, actually it does. So now we have this. Actually, if you are making, say, a design where the tip of the bamboo or of the cylinder is different from the lower end, you can actually assign a different radius on these ends and then sort of control that design in whatever case that you see fit. And actually, you can even assign various points in the middle, and each of them could have a different radius, and then you can control them in the end. But I think it will be a very complex model you are trying to achieve. But in our case, I think this suffice. So I'm just going to repeat to assign material. Yeah, so there we have it. So I'm just going to quickly save this as a family, maybe on the desktop. Call this bamboo frame. And then I'm going to load it to my conceptual massing environment. So immediately we can go to our 3D view. On the Create tab, we can pick component, and then there we have our component. Now remember, we created 2 points, and there was 1 point and then assigned as number 1, and then there was another point assigned as number 2. So this is where they come into play. I'll click the first point here, and then immediately the frame will also demand the second point. So if you have like 7 points here, you can imagine that you'll be needing 7 other points here along the line to be able to successfully add that frame you are trying to create. So in our case, since we were only doing 2 points, so already we have it there. So if you look it on perspective, I think the frame is a bit bigger. So I'm just going to edit type, and then I'm going to change the radius from 50 to 25. I think this is fine. So immediately after creating that, you don't have to redo on the entire surface. What you do, you can just pick one and then go to a command called repeat. Now this command, usually in an architectural template, it would be called array command. So in this case, it's a repeat. So after clicking it, immediately it will repeat itself on all major lines that successfully have 2 points. Now remember, I said we have an issue here, and I'll try to see a way how we can resolve it to make sure that we have also these frames going along this area. But that should be quick and easy. So actually we can change the repetition size by changing the behind surface of it. So these are 8. Maybe let's try 100. Not yet. Maybe 120. Okay, maybe 140. Yeah, I think 140 is good. In your case, there could be okay, I think they're a bit too much. Maybe 120 was just okay. Yeah, I think this is okay. So after this, now the question is, how are we going to resolve this area? Because if you're making a normal sort of like a cube with these members, I think at this point you are already done. I mean, you are done with it. You can just upload it to architectural template and continue using it. And by the way, you can assign materials now, since you just have to pick this edit type, assign your bamboo texture, and then get to render or any kind of presentation. However, if you have a scenario like this, I think a quick and non-complicated way of doing this could be to actually create a new surface on top of this one and then attach the new members there. So I'm just going to remove a repeater because I know now 120 is enough. Actually, not in this way. So I'm just going to undo this. If I delete all of them, they'll be deleted. So I'm just going to undo it very quickly. Yeah, just leaving one member there. And then add a rectangular surface here. But in this time, I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to make surface from closed loops so that I can create immediately a new surface here. So after that, I'm going to hit this surface and I'm going to uncheck nodes and the UV grid and the intersect line so that I can have just as a plain model, as plain as possible. Now I'm going to repeat that because I cannot see the surface I created. So I'm just going to repeat the creation again. So there I have it, and I'm going to divide it. I'm going to divide. I'm going to change this one to 1, and then change this one to maybe 20, or perhaps I'll leave it to 10, and then see what will be happening of it. And I'm just going to add nodes here, and then see what happens if I add my frame. Yeah, so there it is. I'm going to click it and hit a repeater. So there I have it. Now I'm going to add this number probably to 15. I think 15 is okay, but also I'm going to change the surface representation of this so that we can see our UVs. Nodes not so much because we have already seen the purpose of it. So I'm just going also to repeat these ones and set the behind surface to 120. So I think they're a bit closer to what I was imagining. So now we have an issue here with the endpoints. So I'm trying to see how can I work it around it. How can I work around it? One way could be to remove a repeater and then to individually delete. I think one member here and then the other member here. That could be one way. Of course, it's going to leave a bit of a gap here. But I think the other workaround could be to create a new member, to create a new surface, but to offset this one just after the last member from the other one. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we can make a fresh copy of the reference plane from here to here, and then maybe another reference plane from here to here, and then make a new surface now with these offsets. And then of course the last members will somehow be here, or you can, I think it won't be that difficult to adjust it. So I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to maintain a very high degree of accuracy in this case. But you get the idea. Once you have an actual size, an actual diameter of the bamboo, you can offset the lines somewhere in the middle so that the first member on this new surface starts immediately after this one. But I think in my case, I'm not going to stretch to that. So I think they look okay. Now I'm just going to repeat the same process very quickly to the other sides and see if there is any other issue that I might be needing to resolve. Now, we know for sure that whatever I was doing on this side, you can easily replicate it to the other side. Now, the problem arises here because now we don't really have a point except the middle one. So I'm just going to give it a try just to create the middle member and then try to see if it can replicate itself to the other area. I hope this was the correct size. Yes. So I'm just going to click it and then I'm going to hit repeat. So I'll be getting an error. There is only one component in this repeater. So what can I do to resolve this? Okay, let me try first to undo. And then maybe let us create a new surface on this side. So I'm going to switch to extend view. And then this time I'm going to hit model, create, make surface from a closed loop. I'm going to hit this point. And then I'm going to hit this point here. So I've divided extra the area. And I can't see it. So it should be right there in the middle, but I don't want it to be there. So I'll simply just do it on 3D view. So I'm just going to click 3D snapping. I'm going to hit this point and then hit this point here. So now I should have a normal rectangular surface. I'm going to put this to 1 and then I'm going to put this one to 70 and then this one to 1. So I think that's okay. Surface representation, nodes. So this one will solve our problem on the lower parts. But what about the upper parts? Now I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to create a new surface on the upper part. So as usual, make surface from closed loop. Going to hit the first point, the second point, and the third one, and the last one. So we have a rectangle on top. Divide the surface. Make sure we have here, say 35. I don't know, I'm trying to, okay, maybe 50, the same as the lower one. And then this one is 1. Yeah, so one issue we have is that we have to rotate this to make sure we can maintain a straight families. But before that, let me see if we can achieve, if we can achieve double nodes. Let me first rotate this to say 45 degree, 90. Okay, that's a bit promising. 120. Seems 128.65. works correctly. Okay, so after running with a little bit of recovery, we are back again here. So actually, while doing that, I realized there was one issue that I have to address it. So it's rather small issue, but sometimes could be a bit annoying. When you are drawing, say you're adding an external surface here on top of the other one, you might encounter one issue. Let me just quickly switch this to wireframe view and go to north elevation. When you are here, say you want to draw an additional surface, as usual, pick rectangle, make surface from closed loop, click 2 points there, and then you go back to 3D view. You might encounter one issue. In my case now, it's no longer here, but you might find out that your surface is actually drawn inside of the model. Now the reason is that basically when you are loading for the first time the template, there are only two reference lines, one placed at the center dividing north and south, and then the other one placed at the center dividing east and west. So normally when you are drawing on elevation, the Revit might ask you to which reference plane you are drawing at. So you might need to find a way to switch that. In my case, actually, the reference plane that I'm currently drawing is called North View. So actually the easiest way to do this, let me just try to do it from scratch. So I'm just going to remove the already drawn surface. I'll go back and I'll hit plane. and say 2500 and leave it here. Now when I go back to North View and redraw this surface, there is actually an option here called placement plane. Normally by default it will be center, front and back, so that when you draw it and you go back to 3D view, switch it to wireframe, you'll actually notice that that surface is actually placed at the center of the model. So to avoid it is by having these custom-made reference plane, and then after making them, assign a name to it. For instance, this one could be North View. And then when you go to North View, hit Surface Creation, and then you can actually say that you can actually opt between the two. In this case, I'm going to choose North View, create one, and simply there I have my surface actually currently now here instead of appearing at the center. So you might encounter one of this issue, so that's just a work around it. So after that, we basically repeat the same process again of dividing, enabling the nodes, and controlling the vertical grids. So this process can be repeated on every single surface here that is basically a rectangular one or squared one. However, we have one major issue at the top of our gable wall here. This is where actually we have an issue, because apparently on top side we only have a single point. Now after thinking about it, I think a best way to approach it could be to also add some horizontal grid lines, so that we can whenever they are intersected, they will usually make a node. And with that in mind, hoping that we can create as many nodes as possible along the diagonal lines. So in this case, I'm just going to add, say, 50 of them. And if you switch back to East View, you can see that already we have some of the members intersecting along the diagonal line and making the points exterior. So for instance, in this case, this point here, it will be so much easier for it to actually have a straight member going down here. Of course, in this case, it won't be possible. In this case also, it won't be possible. It won't be possible. So there are very few areas that we can actually achieve that. So maybe I'm just going to add this number to make them sort of like a square. So we have a 70 by 70 here in this case. So now you can see we actually have a lot of them, and every single line from down point to the other, it ends up with a point. So I think this case might actually work. However, the drawback of this method is that at this top part, the model is going to, loading the component here is going to cause the model to be a bit heavier. So I think the best way to do it perhaps is maybe to try out first to see if it works, and then afterwards delete it and continue modeling other elements, and then at the final stage try reloading it and actually do it. So let us first try. So I'm just going to hit create component, place it at the top center, and then try to see if it can repeat itself all the way up to this point here. Okay, so we are done. So like I said, we are going to have as many small frames as possible. So it could be a bit heavy afterwards. So after that, let us keep on creating the same frames now to the rest of the surfaces that we are having here. Okay, guys, so I think we are done. As you can see, we already have all of the bamboo frames placed at the correct position. Actually, after this, you can easily load the design to the architecture template or construction template, and then continue from there. Maybe add a bit of a roof, and then a bit of floor, site, things like that. Maybe I could also do the same thing and then post the result a bit later, but I think for now this is where we will be ending. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, subscribe, comment, and in case you have any other issue that you think I might be able to address it, please feel free to post your questions there, and then I'll try my best as soon as possible to make sure that I can respond to it as much as I can. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please stay safe. Thank you.